Using transactions in Django when importing files. I'm building a Django app where the users will import an Excel/CSV file. Each row is fed through a form as explained here, example 3 at the bottom. For my importer, I first run through the entire file and I display any errors in a table. If there's no errors, I display a summary of what will be imported. The user can then confirm and the file will be imported. The problem is, the rows depend on each other for validation, uniqueness constraints, etc., so I have to save each row to the DB for the validation to work. I've come up with the approach below, but I haven't used atomic transactions before and I'm worried about potential gotchas. I could be importing up to 10,000 rows. Is the code below fine for what I want to achieve, or are there better methods? Additional info. In my app I have two distinct views. The first view is a preview view. In this case I call import _from _CSV with preview set to true. That way the inserts will always be rolled back. It returns the results of what would have been imported. If there are no errors, I save the location of the file in a session variable. If the user clicks confirm, I call import _from _CSV again, but this time preview is false. Since I already checked the file in the preview step, there shouldn't be any errors and the results will be committed. I know this could be optimized since I'm processing the file twice. I'm using Django 1.9 and Postgres on Heroku. Gotcha 1. Inserting 10,000 rows isn't going to be very rapid no matter what the database is. You might just be able to squeeze it in before timeouts, but you are taking a chance. Gotcha 2. In a transaction, once an error has occurred, that transaction cannot be used for further inserts until you roll back. If the second line in your CSV causes an error, you will find that nothing actually gets inserted. Based on your updated information, you would still have a hard time figuring out what records can be inserted and what cannot be. You might perhaps need auto-commit in import _data, which would slow things down even further. Gotcha 3. The approach does not actually provide an opportunity for the user to confirm or reject the insert. The user action will be processed by a separate HTTP request. It will be different from the one that sent the CSV data. As a result, by which time the user action is received, this transaction is done and dusted and cannot be rolled back. Gotcha 4. If earlier rows depends on latter rows, you said there may be a relationship between rows, the insert will fail. Solution. Use database vault loading to populate a temporary table which is identical to the real thing except for contrast. You haven't specified what your database is. For example, the way to bulk load in Postgres is with copy from, and in MySQL it's load data. Add the constraints to the temporary table after the data is loaded. Do a join with the original table to identify which rows are duplicated. Ask the user whether to ignore or update duplicates. Then do a insert select. Response to additional information provided. If you are using a celery tasks, you might not be dependent on copy, but it would still be better to do the initial import into a temporary table. That way you avoid the need to process the data twice. And it's really easy to figure out which lines in the CSV file lead to duplicates.
If you want to see more, please consider subscribing.